Welcome back, Sunflower fam, or welcome for the first time if you're new. Thanks for joining us, and let's get on to the video. DIY mushroom embroidery. So I got this hoodie for about $5 at the thrift store, and it had a stain on the one arm, but I didn't care, and I'm gonna embroider mushrooms on it. So this one that I'm gonna use is really good for embroidery. You can separate the strands. This one is really good for bracelets because it's kind of like a rope, tightly twisted. So it's really strong for bracelets. I don't think so for embroidery. This one maybe as like in an alpha bracelet, a color that's not used a lot because it does fall apart really easily. And that's why I'm not using it for embroidery, because I feel like after going through the wash so many times, it would basically disintegrate. The next step is to trace on your design. So mine was mushrooms, and I'll have the pin that I looked at linked down below. It kind of a little bit explains the technique, but mainly just like the overall design. And I originally used black thread for this project to trace out the mushrooms, but it wasn't very noticeable, so then instead I switched it out with this lighter blue thread. But 6 strands was a little bit too thick in my opinion, so for everything else in this project, and including this, I switched it. I changed it that I only used 3 of the 6 strands, and essentially my thread doubled. The amount of thread I had doubled because I could use it twice. You know what I mean, math. Anyway, so if you're limited on thread quantity, then this is a good idea to kind of stretch it. And I love doing this. I love like customizing just one sleeve of a hoodie because it's not as much commitment as doing 2, but also it's just kind of a fun, chill thing, and it's a little bit more personalized after, and it's kind of cute. And the last one I did was the dinosaur embroidery. No, the dinosaur game embroidery, and I love the way that turned out. It's still one of my favorite hoodies till this day. And here's one mushroom done. Also, there's my gingerbread pajamas. I didn't realize that they were in frame, and yes, I'm still wearing them after Christmas because they're my favorite ones. They're from my nanny, and I love the way they look, so I will wear those all year round, unashamed. Okay, so once you've finished your few last stitches, you're gonna want to tie off your work just to secure it in place, and repeat on the back side. Okay, so now we're gonna start filling in the mushroom with whatever color you want the top of it to be. So again, I separated it into 2 strands of 3, if that makes sense. And what we're gonna do is not a running stitch this time, but a satin stitch. And I'll link the video that I watched down below because it might be a little more helpful than me trying to explain it. So instead of like going all the way down like you would with a normal stitch, you're essentially gonna go across to the other side and do this as close as you can to the stitches. Now, since I've never actually done this stitch before, and I'm kind of a beginner with the stitch, I guess, I don't know if I did it 100% right because the fabric did begin to pull, and it kind of made like scrunched like bumps around the mushrooms. So I don't know if this is normal or just I pulled the tension too tight and that's what happened, but either way, it's pretty easy and just keep repeating. And once you filled in half the mushroom, then you can kind of do 1 stitch from a running stitch just to bring the needle back down through the fabric, so you can bring it back up on the other side and finish the half of the mushroom that way, like the other half of the mushroom. Okay, so with the tops of your mushroom done, it's now time to do the bottom. What is the bottom of a mushroom called? I'm not sure. Is it like the stalk of a mushroom? But anyway, again, I separated it into 3 strands, and I chose to use the color white because I'm trying to do a red and white mushroom with white spots. Because, I don't know. That's what I'm doing. Kind of makes me think of like cottagecore vibes, I guess. Like, you know, that aesthetic with like frogs and flowers and plants. That's what it makes me think of. Alright, so back to embroidery. This is, again, a satin stitch, so it's the same one as you used to make the top of the mushroom. And now you're just going to use it for the bottom. And it's pretty easy to just fill it in and and I basically made mine go to the brim of the cuff of the sleeves. Okay, so the next step is to do the little white dots on the top of a mushroom or whatever color you want, and basically you make a French knot. So if you don't know what a French knot is, basically what you do is you just wrap the thread around your needle a couple times, I think 2 in this case, and then you poke the needle back through the fabric close to where it came up through the fabric, and hold the string tightly, and it should form a little knot. And I'm out of breath because sometimes I forget to breathe when doing these voiceovers, and I just keep talking really fast over and over again just for forever, and then I'll stop and realize I haven't breathed in like a good while, and then it's almost like I've ran like a marathon. I'm joking. Now it's time to sew on grass. Okay, so now you're gonna take whatever color you want your grass to be, and I use this light green color, and again split it into strands of 3. So instead of using a satin stitch or something like that, I actually just used a basic running stitch for this, and you kind of just make it in little clumps, so you can do a couple stitches and that will represent grass. You could probably use multiple different colors, different darker shades of the color you're using. That would be really cool. I only had this color. I have a lot of embroidery thread, but some of it's good for bracelets, some of it's not as good for embroidery, as I explained already. Okay, so one time I did this music presentation, and there was like paragraphs. You know how you would probably stop after each paragraph to take a breath? I didn't. I just kept going full on through the presentations, talking fast, did not take like hardly any breaths, and by the end of it, by like halfway through it probably, I was literally gasping for air, and my teacher still gave me like a really good grade on that. But anyway, my friend then made fun of me because I did not take like any pauses to breathe during that presentation, which was a very big mistake. I was literally gasping for air. All right, and now we're gonna tie it off. So you can pick up a little bit of fabric as you tie it off to make sure it's secure, and then tie a couple knots and cut it off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found the video inspiring or helpful or entertaining in some way, and I hope that you have an amazing day. And if you want to join the Sunflower fam, you can subscribe and comment and be like, I joined the fam, and then yeah, so love you. Thanks for watching.